If you own a TV, a computer, or smartphone, then you know that over the last few years, all the major news stations and the YouTube certified economists are predicting that we are in a housing bubble and a major crash is on its way.
Uh-oh, is the roof caving in on the housing market? The National Association of Home Builders predicting a major housing crash due to a combination of inflation and high interest rates.
And anybody born before the year 2000 knows that that is really terrifying to hear. But the fact is, we are not in a 2008 style housing bubble, but what we are in might be much more terrifying. Several of the biggest investment firms in the world have decided that more people should be renting instead of buying homes, and that unaffordable housing is actually going to be good for their portfolio. This has massive consequences for not just Idaho, but the entire country. So if you have been watching the market and are trying to decide when the right time to buy is, stick around. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Living Life in North Idaho. My name is Trent, and on this channel, we talk about what it's like living, eating, working, playing, and buying real estate here in Idaho, and occasionally what's going on in the world and how that pertains to Idaho. If that's of interest to you, go ahead and tap the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so every time I come out with a new video, you get notified. Now, I really want to be clear about something before we dive into this video. I don't want you to trust anything that I say. Now, what I mean by that is, yes, I want you to hear what I'm saying, but do not make your decisions based on what I've said. I'm going to plant some seeds, and I want you to go and do the research, and then you tell me in the comments if what I'm finding is true or not, and if you believe it or not. We are living in unprecedented times where the advertisers on some of these news stations have more power than ever to suppress information and control the narrative. We saw a lot of this happen during the pandemic. We're continuing to see this. So yes, you've got to go outside of some of those mainstream sources. And for me, I started learning about this information listening to a podcast on Joe Rogan with RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
More importantly, there's three giant corporations, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, which collectively, they own each other. So it's really one giant corporation. But they also own 89% of the S&P 500. They own everything. They've now decided to buy every single family home in America. So if they stay on the current trajectory, they will own 60% of the homes in this country, single family homes, by 2030. They literally are trying to buy everything.
Now, some of those people out there, they're going to go, oh my God, he's a quack. He's way out there because he's going against the narrative. But what I love about him is he has the credentials. He has a science degree. He is an attorney. He has sued some of these companies. He has worked with Dr. Fauci and wrote a best-selling book revealing the information that's pretty dang disparaging. And what I know is if it wasn't true, Dr. Fauci could sue his pants off, but he hasn't been sued. So again, I'm taking this information. I do the research. I'm basing my decisions on this research. But you've got to do your own. Please do not just trust what I say. Question authority, think for yourself. So let's dive in. And I like to start videos by talking about why this topic is important to me and how it probably is going to apply to you. So my wife and I, we are in the market looking for some property. We've been saving up money for a long time. We'd like to buy a future investment property where we can go camp on it until we have the money to build a cabin or a vacation home or whatnot. And the market's crazy, right? You're hearing one thing from mainstream media. You're hearing some things from others, like people on YouTube. So how do you make the decision on when the right time to buy is? We know that we are in a housing crisis right now, but the only housing crisis that we know is from 2008. And so it's easy to go, yep, it's going to be the same thing, but I don't believe it's going to be. And we're going to cover that in a second. But if you make your decisions based on what you think it is versus what it really is, you're oftentimes going to take a loss. It's going to be painful because you didn't do the research and you didn't look at the reality. So that's what we're going to look at today, the reality of the situation. All right, so let's talk about this housing crisis we're in. It is not 2008. I've already said that. This is not the 2008 housing crisis, and here's why. There's 4 points. Housing supply. During the 2008 or previous leading up to 2008, there was massive supply of homes. Builders were building them left and right, throwing them together, and then people were just coming and purchasing them. So when the crash happened, they had such a surplus of homes that sat there, it drove the prices down. They had to start discounting those homes, and that helped drive the prices down. You also had the subprime mortgage issue.
These risky mortgages are called subprime. So whenever you hear subprime, think
which is that the investors, they were lying about what the prime mortgages were. They were tying in subprime mortgages and selling them, letting investors invest into them, when really it was supposed to be grade A and it was more like grade D. And that was fraud, right? I don't know if anybody went to jail for that. I don't think so, but that caused a major problem. There was also really bad lending practices. The regulations that were in place were not being enforced, and people that didn't qualify for homes were able to say, oh yeah, I make like $200,000 a year. Didn't have to be verified stated income, which was meant for entrepreneurs, and it was very helpful, but it got abused. And so a lot of people were buying homes that they couldn't actually afford, and they were overpriced. And the last big problem that led to the 2008 crisis was that homes were so expensive, they were literally jumping in value, $50,000 in a month. And so, yeah, people were buying homes based on the future equity, but then all of a sudden the market shifted and all of those people were underwater. And a lot of them had those adjustable rate mortgages. So now that they're underwater and the prices are going up, people just walked away. So looking at it today, what's our housing supply like? It's not great. The builders have not been building a bunch of homes because they were worried that the 2008 crisis could happen again. So they have just been building them based on people putting down payments and then basically committing to buying them once they are built. So we don't have the supply issue, but we still have high demand. Because we haven't been building all those homes, you have population growth, a lot of people being let into the country. I'm not going to touch on that right now, but you have a housing crisis right there. The other aspect is that the lending regulations have been tightened up. I was a lender back in 2016, and I can tell you they are way more strict. It is much more difficult to get a loan to go through than it was previously. And the equity in people's homes, anybody who has purchased a home at the beginning of 2022 or before now has quite a bit of equity in their house. So even if there is a market correction, which we're seeing right now, we are seeing prices coming down. People are still in a good position. Even if they are a little bit underwater, they go, that's okay because I have an interest rate that makes my mortgage way more affordable than to go and rent. So we don't mind being underwater a little bit and keeping our investment because at least we're not out there competing over rentals that are only going to continue to go up in price. So looking at those factors, I feel confident that yes, we are in a housing crisis, but it is not the 2008 style housing crisis. This is a brand new one. And in the 2008 housing crisis, there was a silver lining. Interest rates went way down and home prices became much more affordable. And there was also a surplus of homes. And so you weren't competing. My first house was bought in 2009 for $165,000. My mortgage was $900. So it allowed me to get into a good position where I was set up for success. The problem now is that we aren't looking at that. Yes, prices are very high. Interest rates are very high. And the market naturally should start to shift and offset things, and it should become more affordable and balance out. But here's the problem that we're going to get into. You have these massive investment firms that are deciding, you know what? High price on housing, we can make a strategy out of this. We can actually make a whole bunch of money from this. And even though it's going to ruin a bunch of aspects of the American dream and the middle class and lower class, why do they care, right? They don't have to deal with the homelessness. They have large fences and bodyguards and drivers. So why would they need to deal with it? Now I'm being a little bit dramatic, but let me share with you the information I have and you can decide how dramatic I'm being or not. And guys, real quick, if you've been watching these videos and you're serious about getting moved to Idaho, go ahead and reach out to us at the phone number or email address listed below. Day, nights, weekends, there's also a website. If you're not super serious, but you want to see what's going on in the market, and once you find something, reach out to us then. You can absolutely do that. We love helping people get moved to this area. My team and I Been doing this on this YouTube thing for 2.5 years, and we absolutely love it. So again, if this is you, reach out anytime. Let's get back to it. So let's talk about these investment firms that plan to not allow the market to naturally correct itself. First one is BlackRock, and the other one is Vanguard. Now, when you look at these, when you investigate them, you find out that they own about 2/3 of all the companies on the S&P 500. Now, I shouldn't say they own them. They have the controlling shares. So they own anywhere from 9 to 10% of America's biggest companies. Combined, they manage $16 trillion, and they have subsidiaries throughout the entire world. Now, we heard back during the pandemic that, hey, there are these companies that are buying up homes, they're paying cash, and they're paying way over asking, which triggered a ripple effect because those people who got way more money for their home in California were able to come up to Idaho. And during the pandemic, they're like, I don't care, just get me out of here. We made a whole bunch of money. And so they started paying way over asking, which started to inflate the price here in Idaho and throughout the country. So that's why a lot of people are like, this is a bubble. It's not going to last. But through those investments they were making, buying up tens of thousands of homes in America, they saw that, hey, prices are starting to go really high and mortgages are starting to get more expensive and more people can't qualify. So what does that do to rent? That makes rent go way up. And the thing is that when you can keep the prices high and you can keep it out of reach with high interest rates, right? Trying to crush that inflation, now you don't have as much competition buying up those homes, and you have a solid base of millions of Americans that are going to have to rent, and they're going to have to pay what you ask. Otherwise, they're going to be homeless. Now, historically, the federal government has regulatory arms to make sure that these companies cannot come in and dominate a market and screw up everything for everybody else. But you do get to a point where you have so much money and control, it doesn't take long before those regulatory services are actually just there to suppress your competition. All right, let me pull back a little bit because I'm sure it's starting to sound like a conspiracy theory. And I get it, but you can go and look up this information. By the year 2030, they are stating that they want to own 40 to 60% of single-family dwellings.
In 2021, corporations bought 28% of all the homes sold in Texas. That figure was 19% in Georgia and 16% in Florida. Companies like Pradium and Blackstone target these markets. Blackstone in particular has held large stakes in several companies that dominate the region.
Now, when you look up this information, you will see all of these articles saying, no, it's not true. But you can also find articles that are saying, yeah, it is true. And even they state, oh, no, we're not trying to do that. Some of the wealth management that we do, some of the subsidiaries might be doing that, but not us. And then they also state that, yeah, we're investing into rental-based housing. So you read between those lines and you go, really? That's not the strategy? Because why aren't the prices coming down on these homes? Why isn't there a massive correction? Now, we are seeing some correction, but it's not what it should be. I believe it's because they're still out there purchasing these homes. Now, I know it's really easy to get really worked up and go, oh, these evil companies, and just get really angry and not know what to do. But let's step back and just look at it objectively. It's these massive investment firms that they fund most of the campaigns for our politicians. They are influencing the regulatory arms of our federal government, and they see an opportunity to make a move, to make more money. And what it feels like to us is that they are ruining the American dream, and they're going to ruin America. And ultimately, that might be what happens, but you have a decision to make. Do you get really angry about this and just tell everybody? Or do you embrace that, hey, at least I know where things are headed, so I can at least make a decision for what I need to do in the future? The predictions of what's going to be happening over the next few years is that housing prices are going to level off. They're still correcting. They're going to continue to correct for the next few months, meaning that the prices are improving, but they're going to level off. And according to Goldman Sachs, for the next 3 years, they're going to be going up in price between 1% and 4%. The interest rates for a mortgage are going to continue to fluctuate, but they are going to stay around this new normal of 6 to 7%. I've already stated that by 2030, 40 to 60% of single family dwellings are going to be owned by these investment firms.
Oh, if they stay on the current trajectory, they will own 60% of the homes in this country, single family homes, by 2030.
Which is going to cause rent to go up, which is going to cause homelessness to increase, which naturally makes crime increase. It's not a very good picture. So what do you do with this information? Well, ultimately, you have two choices, like I said. You can either embrace that, hey, this is reality, this is what's happening, this is what these firms are saying, and they're publicly traded, so they do have to let their investors know where things are going and what the opportunities are and risks and all that. And so they've already stated, yep, this is part of our strategy is to buy up these properties. Or you can stick to the narrative that you like, which is, hey, the housing prices are going to collapse and I'm going to get a really, really great deal on a house, so I'm just going to wait. And again, don't trust me, do your own research. But I will say some of the saddest stories that I saw from 2019 until now were the people that kept believing that we were in a housing bubble and that the prices were going to drop. And so in 2019, they missed out. And in 2020, they held on. And then 2021, the prices got too high. And then in 2022, the prices were still high and they're coming down. And then boom, the interest rates changed and they are now stuck in their rental. So not trying to scare anybody, but this is the reality we're in. Obviously, we're in unprecedented times. We can't be 100% sure on what's going to happen, but this is the data that I found, and I hope that it helps you. It's definitely helped me to encourage me to move forward, because in my mind, it is better to buy a property while the supply is still okay and the competition is low and the prices are correcting. If you look around this area, and usually when I travel, I see this too, I'm not seeing a lot of housing developments being built. I'm seeing a ton of apartments getting built. And so for me, I'm starting to see I think this might be where things are headed. Let me know in the comments what you think and what you decide. Again, I'm not trying to scare anybody. This is the information that I've gathered and the information that I'm going to go off of for my future purchase decision. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments. Was this video helpful? Did you do your research? What are you finding? Let's have a dialogue. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And until the next one, guys, I will see you later.